Welcome, everybody. Come on in and get comfy. Hey, Bonnie Joe. Hey, Wendy, Deb. Good to see lots of familiar faces and new faces coming in. Hello,
Hello,
Jan.
everyone.
Jannine and I are excited to talk to you guys. So while everybody trickles in, I'm just going to share a story because it felt so relevant to me as we were talking about this, and it felt like kind of like a higher consciousness thing this week where I was like, I think I'm gonna drop the like fleshed out plan to discuss things super specifically and just allow this to settle in because I've shared it in a couple other places this week, and there's been something that's come through or been attached to it that's helped everybody. So midlife, right? I'm in it. I'm 47. I have been experiencing all sorts of different signs of perimenopause since I was about 42 or 43. Okay. I don't think it's any coincidence that my
One
ADHD
thing.
diagnosis came at that point, right around
Up
there.
your volume.
Oh, my
Up your
volume?
volume.
You can't
Yeah,
hear me? Let's
it's
see.
kind of quieter.
What's going on with my mic? Is that better? Can you hear me
Much
better?
better.
Weird. Okay. Anyway, so I got diagnosed with ADHD around 43. Around the same time, I also started getting these different pains in my shoulder. And I thought I just strained it working out or whatever. It would get better, it would get worse, come and go, that kind of thing. It was manageable, right? Earlier last year, around April of last year, the shoulder pain started to get worse and happen more often. So it was a little less manageable. It was getting harder to like find a comfortable position to sleep. It was limiting my mobility, my workouts, that kind of stuff. So I ended up, talking to different practitioners. I went for an MRI, went for an X-ray. They kind of assumed that maybe I had a labrum tear. And I was like, doesn't really seem like it quite adds up with what I'm experiencing, but all right, I'll do the PT and do this other stuff. And of course, I'm talking to my awesome friend, Dr. Jannine, that's here. And, she has some ideas about it too. So I'm taking all that in, start using some different peptides and things to try to help with it while I'm also doing, dry needling and acupuncture and all this other stuff. And I went to the orthopedic surgeon last week for like a second opinion. And I had asked several doctors about this before too, and they were all like, no, it's a tear. It's not frozen shoulder, But I went to the orthopedic and he's like, it's frozen shoulder, which tends to happen really commonly for women around my age. I think Dr. Nin, you can probably attest to this. I know my acupuncturist here locally says like everyone in Chinese medicine and in China calls it 50-year-old shoulder.
Yep,
Yep. So,
100%.
and it was awful. And but my point in like bringing this up is I've been able to collapse time so much more, bringing in like nervous system regulation, bringing in more awareness and greater consciousness, and then also like in using the collective, right? Having great people like Dr. Jannine to help me and advise me and things like that, and have it all kind of come together in a different way than I think it would have in another time in my life. And I don't know how many of you tuned in. I shared a podcast episode that Jannine and I had done last year, I think, where we talked about like all the perimenopause stuff too, and how much like awareness and consciousness came into play as far as like me cleaning up my different systems to decide whether or not hormone therapy was the route that I wanted to take or if I wanted to go in a different direction. And then so I went to the orthopedic. They decided they wanted to put me on naproxen to take the swelling away so that maybe I could get some more mobility back in my shoulder and it would feel better. I've taken a leave before without a problem. I don't take much of anything any more than I need to. So it had been a long time, but they put me on like a prescription strength dose of it. And 2 days in, my whole mouth went crazy. And I had what is apparently a very rare reaction, but it amounted to like, and this is not an exaggeration, and I counted what I could see in the pictures that I could take, like over 100 sores in my mouth. And like I could not eat food. I was like begging my husband to like bring me milkshakes and things because I could not eat or chew or whatever else. And I was able to get some stuff to take care of that. But like our body reacts to different things that are happening for different reasons. And I think that's so much of what's happening in midlife with whatever's going on with our hormones, whatever this unfamiliarity that's happening in our bodies is. And these things tend to happen for a reason. The interesting thing is that in going on the naprosyn, having the reaction, they had to put me on steroids, and my shoulder feels amazing. So it's like sometimes you don't get to the end goal in the way that you think the path's going to lead, or you don't find the answers in like the textbook way. But I've certainly learned a lot about myself on this journey, and I always find that that's as valuable, if not more valuable, than just sleeping better or losing weight or having more energy. I think the insights that we get along the journey can be incredibly valuable. So anyway, I just figured I'd kind of kick off with that, let you know, like, you're not alone. I'm going through it very much so this week. Honestly, if you'd asked me on Monday, I probably would have told you I thought I was gonna have to cancel today, because it was just I have not been in that much pain in a really long time. It's crazy how much little stupid sores in your mouth can just take the energy out of you and just cause insane amounts of pain. So I'm glad that I'm feeling so much better today. I have lovely lidocaine mouthwash and steroids on my side, and I'm here. So I want to introduce you to Dr. Jannine so we can really like get into all this today. We've gotten to be really good friends over the last few years. I've worked with her, she's worked with me. We've been able to experience each other's magic, and she's got a lot of great expertise when it comes to this stage of life. And I really want to make sure that today is very interactive. So if you have specific questions, like, you can start dropping them in the chat. I'd love to know where everybody's from. I see some new faces here today, and I see some that are new, but just let me know where you're from, and if there's any particular reason why you really wanted to be here today, something that you're working on that you could use a little bit of support with. And Jannine, I'd love if you take a minute or so and just kind of let us know about you, who you are and who you help, and maybe what your story's been like in midlife so far.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, Teresa. And yeah, I'd love to see. We got Vancouver, Canada. Yes, love Vancouver. Great spot. I hail halfway from Tacoma some days, and most of the time I'm hanging out in Wisconsin. And so, yeah, the midlife side of things, what Teresa was talking about with frozen shoulder, aches and pains showing up, and then like weird, strange things, and the whole concept of our talk today about being over it, and probably, maybe some of you guys here can be like, yeah, I'm over just weird stuff happening. Can anyone raise their hand and be like, just weird things? I don't know how to explain it. Yeah. What happened with Teresa's mouth? Like it's very common to have more histamine reactions, be more sensitive to foods. Maybe you feel like, gosh, there's like less things I can eat. I get bloated for I don't even know why. I get bloated staring at food, not even eating it. This is part of all of the shifts of the hormones and the connection with histamines and progesterone. And then frozen shoulder, aches and pains, crunchy. If you're starting to sound like, you can't really sneak up on anybody because you're either gonna pop in some joint or you're sounding a little like saran wrap as you walk, this is the estrogen kind of coming in there. So things we'll talk about today. So we've got Vancouver, Canada. We've got England. Hello, Zoe from England, or Zoe, I'm not sure how to say that. Jennifer's from Michigan. We've got Sarah in South Carolina, and she's getting heartburn from Cliff Bars. The weird things like, and I'm guessing, Sarah, you probably had Cliff Bars before, and all of a sudden it came out of nowhere. Comment in the chat there and let us know if that was kind of how that went down.
Said,
Yep.
yep.
Stillwater, Oklahoma, post midlife, that's okay. Because
Yep.
here's the fun thing. We still have hormones all the way through, and things still happen in interesting ways. And so Gambrels, Maryland.
Yep. That
Uh,
and she's right down the street from me. It's like a
aha.
neighboring town to Davidsonville where I am. So, yep.
All right. Well, welcome, Anne. Welcome, everybody. So, yeah, today we're kind of wanting to, share a little bit, but also bring out some of the interesting things that folks have been experiencing. We got Deb from Ohio here too, as well. And we'd love to hear from you guys, just like Teresa said, any of the like weird or strange things or anything that you are kind of wanting to gain some information on. And we'll start with kind of the heartburn and the weird histamine like gut reactions because I think that's something that both Teresa and I,
Yeah.
Teresa can resonate with. Both
And as we
Teresa.
go through like the different things that you guys are dealing with, I'm going to be taking some notes, and I'm going to put together a round of EFT that we can all use and
Yes.
tap together before we're done, so that we can kind of like put a bow on all of this and relieve a little bit of the energetic blockages and some of the stress hormones that we might have going on about what we're talking about. So I'll be taking notes while we're talking.
Yes, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter where you are in your life, way postmenopausal, you could be premenopausal, Hormones are there and they're coming into play with your nervous system, just like your immune system. And they're all kind of triangulating and working together. And so if we are struggling in one way or other, the hormones might have some kind of play there. And having something we can do on the fly to help our nervous system calm down, because the biggest messenger of your nervous system is histamines. And it can create lots of different imbalances in the body. So having the EFT on board is just so, so crucial. And so we've got Sarah right up out of the gate here. She got a rash out of nowhere. It mostly healed. Then she got sick. Then it came back with a vengeance and it scarred her skin. This is not uncommon this time in life. And a couple different things I will say, and Sarah, I'm super curious as to where you are. Like, are you premenopausal, postmenopausal? And I'll kind of give everybody else a little bit of the lay of the land here. When we get rashes like this, or we have like eczema or psoriasis, these kind of things showing up, we're looking at two things happening. One, progesterone, which is our hormone that's like chill, it's calming, but it also stabilizes histamines, can be dropping. The other connection is the stress, and this is where the EFT is going to come in, because the more that we're stressed, the more we are going to drop our progesterone ever so slightly down. It doesn't matter where you are in this journey. You could be 12 years old, you could be 78, and this is still happening for both of you. And what we need to do is figure out that right balance between it. And the beautiful thing here is that Teresa has the tools that you can do on the fly for it. And so, almost finished menopause if it never ends. Great question. You know, technically, if we look at how they state menopause, it's 12 months from the time that you've went past your last period. That's menopause. You're only in it for that time frame.
Well, isn't
And
menopause
then after that, you're off.
isn't menopause itself defined as like one day?
Yes,
Like
it's defined as one day, but it's literally like you've got 12 months of no period where you're waiting, where you're kind of like menopause-ish, but they'll still call it perimenopause. And then you
yeah.
have your one day where you're like, all right, it's January 12th, and January 12th of last year was my last period. Menopause day.
Yep.
And then after that, we consider it like
Postmenopausal.
postmenopausal. But the hormone imbalances, the nervous system interactions still keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw, Sarah also added that she smells cigarette smoke randomly, and she's read that that's common.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's come up. Sarah's a client of mine, and that's come up in some of our sessions too. The different
yeah.
smells that come through.
I've had weird, like not necessarily cigarette, but burning. I'm always asking my husband, like, is my computer on fire? Is that wire on fire? I smell something burning. He's like, oh my God, again. Um, Back to the nervous system, because all our olfactory, and Teresa, I'd love to get your take on this. A lot of that is olfactory system, and some of it can be impacted with viruses that we get, but also some of it really is overload of the nervous system and the body trying to be like safe, not safe, and anything that's burning, because that's our most primal scent. And I don't know what you've got about that in terms of primal scents and things that we'll pull on.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting take on that. Different smells come through for different reasons when I'm working with people. I don't have a heck of a lot of like really amazing insights on that, but I think it's, there's like you said, there's some dots to connect between the hormones, the histamine response, and the nervous system, like in the context of menopause and also like trauma related dysregulation. So it's like we always have to remember that like it's not like we're just like living and our bodies are doing these things and it's just going to happen the same way for everybody. Like our lived experience and the things that we've been through really do like frame what's happening, as well as like what we're believing in and what we're feeling. All of those things, they create our reality, right? I mean, in order to create a new reality in any situation, you need new thoughts, new feelings, and new beliefs. So it's like it's an identity thing. And like, what crazier like F with your identity thing is there than perimenopause and midlife? Like, it's definitely, it's like, you might not have even wanted the identity shift, but here it is, like whether you want it or not. So yeah, it's not talked about enough, like how much our nervous system affects our immune and our inflammatory responses, especially as our hormones shift. So like Sarah's like random rashes or like hives from foods that used to be fine, or like for me, like I could take a leave 10 years ago. Apparently, I can't take it now. Like I don't think that those are just random things. I think that those are signs of the body's internal alert system being more hypersensitive. And that's a form of dysregulation, which obviously like my work aims to help people to um, you know get better with. So it's like now all of a sudden Cliff Bar is dangerous, like like that somehow like the body's thinking that. Or like sometimes you get sick, and then like maybe you have like a half healed rash or something, is your system was already in like overload. Like so I think like I was in an overloaded place last week when I started that prescription medication that I had the reaction to. Like I think, and I have a feeling that had a significant amount to do with also having as severe of a reaction to it. So yeah, there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah, yeah. And I see that we want to pop back to Wendy for a second. Wendy will finish the loop on the smells and we'll come back to you because she's got a point about pain and discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And Zoe did mention like, is anyone open to looking at smelling random smells as a part of a spiritual shift? Absolutely.
Yeah, I saw that too. I
Yeah.
totally, totally.
Yeah. Because what the way I kind of see it with a lot of folks, when I'm working on folks with acupuncture and we're working on releasing some trauma, we're working on something that they want to free. Sometimes they'll see colors, but sometimes there'll be some smells coming up. And like Teresa mentioned, is it a trauma thing or is it, are we awakening
Yeah,
the
it's a
senses?
sign like, hey, pay attention to me, whatever the thing is that's going on. Pay attention.
Yep. Yep. And I think because there's so many symptoms we have at this time, and so this is one of the big things because you can get really bogged down on, oh my God, I'm so over it because I have 85 new symptoms and I don't know which hormone I need, or if I need
Mm-hmm.
hormones, or if I need peptides, or if I need, like, what do I need? Sometimes like breaking down the symptoms and going, okay, this could be my body trying to get me to do something as well. Like Teresa said, this whole midlife and beyond kind of thing is calling us into our women wisdom, as I like to call it. We're all becoming more sage as we get older. And so it's also looking at what do these things interpret for you? And it might not always be hormones per se. And so I like folks to think about that too. And Bonnie's noticing like with being sick and skin stuff coming up too. That is a
Eczema.
big one.
Yeah, so since I went in menopause, I started getting eczema on my hands. The past month, it's on my nose, and after being sick all week, I have it under my eyebrow. What do you think about that one, Jannine?
Oh boy. So nose is gonna be a lot because we're the barrier. So skin barriers do degrade as we get older. We're gonna have thinner skin, right? So we're gonna be more sensitive. And so if we're blowing nose, there is the more potential for that. Now the eyebrow, I'd imagine, Bonnie, you're not sitting around scratching your eyebrow. But she says no. The eyebrow in this area is very common for dermatitis, for skin inflammation. And in particular, this is very estrogen and very progesterone, kind of like the two of them. And you can also link it back to the gut because you've probably heard by now, if you've been in any of the wellness space, that the gut health is related to your skin health. Well, how does that translate back into hormones and how does it translate into what's going on? Our hormones will shift the microbiome. Our hormones will also shift what's going on in terms of our gut lining. And if our gut lining is becoming a little more weaker, we're more sensitive to more foods. This is the time in which it's looking at like, okay, how can I reset the gut a little bit? Do I need, say, maybe a peptide? There's peptides that are called BPC 157. Sounds like a German U-boat, but it's something that's a little bit stronger than doing the collagens and those kind of things. Not that
That's
that
what
is
that's one of the things I've been injecting my shoulder with.
yeah, yeah. And so something, and this is a good segue actually into tissue. And yeah, this is perfect to segue into tissue because when our skin starts to show issues and hives and different things, this means we do want to consider looking back to the gut, looking at estrogen being a very solid foundation for our tissue repair, but also looking at like I was saying, like the crunchy shoulders or poppy noises or pain. And so with Wendy here, she was kind of talking about being surprised about Teresa's shoulder pain, but also carrying a lot of weight on that side. started discomfort and could have torn something. Yeah, she's wanting to be over it, and not sure the practitioner to check in with for the resolve. Let's talk about that a little bit because you went to how many people for your shoulder?
Ooh. I'm trying to think because if I go back enough, I mean, I see a doctor that does a lot of like homeopathic stuff for me. So he was my
Hmm.
first one. I saw my regular doctor. I saw, and I did the same thing with all my perimenopause stuff. Like I saw a ton of people, and I did podcasts and things on it. Because I know not everybody can like go to all different people. I talked to you,
Yeah.
obviously. I went to an
Yep.
acupuncturist. I went to PT, chiropractor, dry needling. Orthopedic surgeon, my own like Google doctoring and research. Started having my hubby help inject the peptides that you recommended and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of people on the team at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. What I would say, when you're looking to find somebody that's going to understand hormones, look at their website, read through who they are, what they're about. A lot of people are going to talk about who they help. Sports medicine folks are going to also be aware of these kind of things. This is going to sound a little biased, but women are going to understand a little more than men in a lot of cases too,
Makes
in
sense.
this situation, because and especially someone that's midlife, 40s above is really gonna have the lived experience. So I would say when looking for a practitioner to help with aches and pains and really for someone to understand that this connection is with menopause, you've got to look at their website, what kind of training, and just interview them. See if they do a free 15-minute consult and ask them, you know, how much do you know about menopause? Do you think this could be part of it? And if someone's, like, no, absolutely not, you gotta have someone that's open to it and understanding of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wendy's got a question again.
yeah, go for it.
Yep, unmute yourself, Wendy. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn my computer.
so like I'm well over menopause, like I'm 73.
Mhm.
And so like maybe I could look at hormones and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not sure. Like I just think that I built up with that extra carrying weight on that side, and all of a sudden I must have, that's my thinking anyways, is I must have done something, but yet somehow neither a physio or chiro or whatever, just I haven't done anything about it because it just doesn't feel right. And so I'm not knowing where to go, but I'm really tired of the discomfort. Um, I'm starting to manage it. Do you know, and you probably would know this, Teresa. I'm doing, what can I do that causes the least pain and get my shirt on?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh gosh. Yeah. It was like putting the jacket on and off and stuff when it's really bad, or like, yeah, putting a shirt on, a bra, whatever. Like any of that kind of stuff is
yeah.
awful with the
So
shoulder pain.
I don't mean to discount anything because I've just never looked at that
Yeah.
ever before. So
Yeah. And you can
anyway,
you can manage a lot with one shoulder that's not doing great. Especially, I mean, for me, it's my non-dominant, it's my left side. It's like
yeah,
I can adjust a lot of things, but
yeah,
I also notice where I'm overcompensating with the other side. And then one of the interesting, I mean, so like bodily alignment is so important, right? So like in working with like the chiropractors and the physical therapists, they were noticing that a lot of times the fascia between like my collarbone and my hip would be elevated on one side for whatever reason. So the fascia wasn't as like taut as it needed to be in order to make my collarbone like work like a seesaw, like a collarbone's supposed to. So it would limit the range. Like this is the shoulder that's bad. I can't go like this one. I can go like over and above and everything. This one's only to here right now. So like, and this is not seesawing the way it is supposed to be. So it's interesting, like the way that all the different body mechanics come together, and depending on the different people you talk to, they give you different insights that you can then
I
manage.
appreciate you both so much. Thank you for letting me share what I
Yeah,
consider.
absolutely. Absolutely.
No
And
problem.
and Jannine and I had a really cool conversation on my podcast because we talked about I was very reluctant to do hormone replacement therapy. I don't know why. I think sometimes, and this comes to like the emotional underlier stuff, and I see this in a lot of women where it's like we think it's got to be so fucking hard. Like if it's not hard, then we're not doing it right, or we haven't like given it our best effort, And so I spent like a good year like working with other specialists. I mean, I just counted the shoulder people, like double the count for people I worked on for perimenopausal symptoms, and gathering insights there, cleaning up different, systems, and doing all sorts of cleanses and other things to like get things balanced. And then I was finally like, you know what? I still am having ridiculous hot flashes and I'm not sleeping well at night. And I was having depression and anxiety that had me like back on prescription medications again, which was a big deal for me. And I was like, you know what? Like, why would I not try this? Like, so for me, going on HRT and using like estradiol and progesterone, and for me, I've even chosen like testosterone, has made a huge difference. Huge difference. And it made me wonder, like, why do I need it to be so difficult? Like, but also kind of like with how I got to the shoulder feeling much better right now, and being on that journey, I think that all the work I did leading up to making that choice made the choice to do hormone replacement therapy take like that. I mean, I know some people it takes a while for it to take root. I like felt insanely different in a better way within 48 hours of starting like the patch and progesterone. It was crazy fast.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely get a shift pretty fast if you've got like your foundations of health down. And I think circulation is a big factor. That was one thing I was gonna talk a little bit
That
about,
would
and
be a great thing to talk about.
this is how you can really with EFT and tapping and working on the nervous system. But like a lot of people will be like, circulation, why is that really, how's this a factor? Well, if we don't get good circulation to organs, if we don't get good circulations to tendons and ligaments, things that are restricted, we will have issues. And if we're lower on hormones, or we're not, like say we're making hormones just fine, and say maybe we are 20, 30 years postmenopausal, um, circulation still matters to keep things from freezing. And I really look into different types of myofascial release therapy. There's a gal named Deanna Hansen from Winnipeg. She is super fun. And I started working with her, so I put the link there in the chat. And the idea is connecting your nervous system to your breath, to your diaphragm, how that's tied in, and how we get circulation throughout our whole body. Because if our diaphragm and we're not breathing well, we're sending messages to our body that we're stressed, and then we're not going to get the blood flow to the tendons and ligaments like we need. And so, anyway, my 2 cents on another thing to look at when you're going, okay, what can I do to prevent aches and pains, but also what can I do to keep circulation to all my organs and tissues as I get older?
Yeah, that's a great one. And I always love a good like subconscious question kind of thing. What would it take for me to deliver more circulation in my body?
Yeah.
When we ask ourselves those kind of questions, the part of our brain that is going to look for answers, whether they're good answers or bad answers, will look for good answers. So yeah, if there's particular things that you guys are struggling with, a good subconscious question, and you're not finding the answer yourself. You're just letting your brain help you find the answers. Like you don't need to answer it. Um, I'd love to know like what everybody feels like is kind of their big struggle right now, or their whether it's emotional or physical or in this time of life, as related potentially to hormones or an imbalance or something even emotional or traumatic. What comes through for you guys? And you can drop it in the chat, or if you want to share something, you're welcome to unmute. We have a lovely size group here to be able to chat a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say weight. It's been a big
Wait.
issue.
Okay.
Mhm.
So how do you feel like that has changed for you in recent years?
Well, mine is hard to tell sometimes because I had immunotherapy at the same time as I was going through menopause. And so that killed my thyroid. But also I I just have, which of course affects hormones all on top of the menopause. So yeah, like losing weight at all is pretty much impossible.
Okay. Um, what do you have to say about that, Jannine? Anything in particular?
Weight is such a bugger this time of life. And some of the picture is that the liver gets bogged down. And Some of it can be fatty liver lingering. A lot of us will end up starting the fatty liver trajectory before the labs change, before we even know, before ultrasound show up. So I would be like, Sarah, if there's been any gallbladder stuff or any gut stuff, or if you don't have a gallbladder, that would be one of the things I'd start to think about in as, okay, this could be some of the weight issue. The other part of the weight issue, and Teresa and I've talked, we'll talk about that, is like the body protecting you. And it's like, okay, what are we protecting from? And then the other side of it, which is a big aha for me in the last couple weeks with working with the gal with block therapy, is if we don't circulate between our diaphragm and our pelvic floor, yes, we send messages to our body we're not safe, but we also compress the fascial tissue and it'll pooch out our bellies and not have us be able to burn the fat because it's kind of like stuck there. There's not enough circulation. And so I would invite everybody right now, like take your hands and like feel your bottom, like feel your bum, feel your belly, anything cold on you? Are your thighs cold on you? If things are cold, you're not getting circulation there. And so it makes it very difficult this time in life because those are like literally storage containers that your body forgot about. Like you literally put you put the antiques in there and the body's like, forgot about that. So if anything's cold, there's that. Now, the other thing, Sarah, as you mentioned, the thyroid. The thyroid's a booger. It is a booger. It does mess with things. And what I have learned, and this is a wild thing, a lot of people kind of back to the HRT and being like, I don't know if I want to try that. Now we've got the peptides, the GLP-1s. I will be honest that I'm not a fan of the pharmaceutical versions of them, but I am a fan of the research peptide sites because we can do micro doses of these. And the micro doses actually have been for short times. I'm not talking for the rest of your life. I'm like 8 weeks, we get in, we get out, and we start it with a cleanse. And sometimes that can just shift the body in addition to starting to work with diaphragm and pelvic floor. So, there you go.
Yeah, I was also going to say, or I was at the doctor's yesterday for like a 6 month checkup. And she kind of echoed what my primary or my oncologist had said, and just that basically they have the thyroid under control on their own. I'm like, you've already upped me like 4 different times on this medication, and I've read, of course, read about it because I wasn't getting the results I was hoping for. But the they were both like, oh, well, you only need to test these 2 things. And I've read a lot about this, like hundreds of things you can actually test for a thyroid. So I was a little curious about your thoughts on that too.
Yes, the average doc's going to run a TSH. That's it. You get no information other than great, you're making TSH or you're not. That's a bummer. There's free T3, there's free T4, and I can type all this in the chat if someone wants to see what labs I would recommend.
And I
But
think this also
there's
ties in, it's a slightly different topic, but Jennifer Landers mentioned that she feels like she's not being
yeah.
heard as far as her current doc, but doesn't know where to start. Basic blood work fell within normal, but I think need more extensive blood work and prescribed HRT, etc. I am so tired, literally and figuratively, of not feeling like me. And I think that just mirrors, like, I think with any of these issues, like, everybody's so confused on, like, where do I go? Who do I talk to? Who actually has the answer that's going to be helpful?
Yeah. Yeah. We do have a bummer in the medical space, and it doesn't matter what country you're in, where you're at. There's the old school thought process of we're not going to talk about hormones, and then there is the like folks who are educating themselves and realizing that it is a conversation to have. And so, yeah, Jennifer, I would agree that you absolutely need some expanded blood work, and I'm happy to like type in my whole list of what I do while Teresa takes over for some of it because there's a lot more out there that can give you some serious insights into like, are you not feeling like yourself because it's your thyroid? Are you not feeling like yourself because, and I'll say that thyroid, but I'll also say cellular hypothyroidism, because that is a real thing that a lot of people do not recognize. So that's another one. Are you not feeling like yourself because you've got inflammation? And is it a blood sugar thing that you're insulin resistant? Because that's where the fatty liver and all that comes in, and the weight not coming off. Is it an issue of pure like deficient hormones? Is it an issue of the adrenals? Where is this coming from? Is it your microbiome? So yeah, we can definitely do that. And okay, endo for hormones. Endocrinologists can sometimes be helpful. Depends. It depends. I'll let you take over for how do you screen your docs that you want to work with? Like tell us like your scoop there.
I mean, honestly, it was like one thing leads to another. It's kind of like a domino, right? You talk to different people. It's like I would just go right to Dr. Jannine if I lived in Wisconsin. Like when I told her about my frozen shoulder, and she's like, "I'd be good in a weekend." I'm like, I'm seriously contemplating flying out because it's like it would just be worth it. But since we're not next door neighbors, it's a little bit more difficult. But yeah, I mean, I always kind of go a little bit more holistically. Luckily, I've got a pretty good circle of experts because of all of the podcast interviews I've done and had people on and people that I've been able to talk to in my circle for a number of years. And then comparing, like when I did, and I think we talked about this on our podcast episode. I'll have to get the link and drop that in here for you guys because it probably would be helpful. When I was actually exploring HRT, my regular doc and then the doc that I saw in like telehealth, and I put it in the chat. I'd gone to like see the doctor was on MIDI. They've been very helpful. Like that's where I ended up getting my testosterone through because my regular doc wouldn't do anything with testosterone. Like they're like, we're not touching that. But I was like, but I want it. And it made a huge difference. So I found people that would get me what I wanted and advocate for myself. But my regular doctor, like I let them both prescribe for me, but both doctors. So it's like, one would prescribe this level of a patch to start with. The other would prescribe like one level up to begin with. Or when I needed to switch, the doctors at MIDI were way more like progressive and like making a switch faster. My regular doc was like, no, we're just going to see if like if you feel better and if the hot flashes go away over the next 6 weeks. And then, well, I'm like, is I going to suffer through like another 6 weeks when no. So it was very interesting to like, I just played both of them and I just, kept telling the regular doctor that I was taking whatever she told me. And like, I played it both out and I did my own research to see like how they would respond based on what was going on. And the regular doc was much less like, what's the word I'm looking for? Aggressive, I guess, in treatment. And the other doc wasn't. So yeah. But it's interesting. We all got to the same endpoint, just took a different amount of time. So, yeah, that was kind of my process, just asking around, sharing experiences. I feel like the more conversations I had, even like we're having right now, gave me other information, other roads to go down, things to try, new perspectives, all of that kind of stuff. So, I would love to take you guys through a round of EFT tapping. What I'm noticing as far as the stuff that we're actually talking about today is that the main thing that is coming through is a feeling of I don't feel like myself and I'm tired of feeling like I'm alone and like I don't know what to do. That seems to be the overarching thing that I've heard in what everybody is sharing. So I think that's probably the most powerful thing that we can work on together collectively to get a shift for all of us. So what I will invite you guys to do is kind of assess this question of like, how intensely do you feel like the emotional or the physical weight that you're carrying right now is? And you can rate that from, 0 to 10 being like really maxed out as far as the different, symptoms or things that you're dealing with. And if you put that number in the chat, that would be great. And if you also just remember it, because it'd be great to have when we're done, you could put the first number and the second number in like one comment in the chat. And we'll just see if we can bring things down a little bit. And then if somebody would be willing to unmute and just do follow the leader with me, because with EFT tapping, for anybody who hasn't done it before, I'm going to say something, you guys are going to say it back. Most of you are on mute, but if I have one person that's not, it helps me time things a lot better. So if somebody's willing to do that for me, that would be great. Wendy, I see your hand. You're always a great helper with this, so you got it. All right, so we're just going to start by taking a deep breath. And is anybody here not familiar with EFT tapping? I don't know if anybody here is like brand new newbie. JD's like, okay, so let me just explain super quick before we do this, just so you understand like why we're going to start like tapping different parts of our body and saying things, because it can seem a little unusual otherwise. And the idea here is based very much in both what me and Jannine do. As a doctor of acupuncture, she's looking at these meridian endpoints, and as an EFT master, I'm also looking at these same areas of our body where energetic blockages, and an energetic blockage is the root of any dis-ease we have in our bodies, whether that dis-ease is physical, mental, spiritual, or mental. No, Did I say mental twice? Physical, spiritual, mental, or emotional. Okay, four different bodies that we have essentially. So when we can discharge those energetic blockages, we feel better. And as we use EFT tapping, we're going to tap on like 9 of the main meridian endpoints while we're addressing as like accurately as possible kind of this dis-ease that we're having around the way that we're feeling right now in our bodies or in our lives. And we're going to release some of those energetic blockages. We're also going to send a signal right to the amygdala, which gets us into this fight or flight state. So many of us are in almost constant fight or flight, just really high cortisol states, very high stress hormones. That leads to a lot of other health issues. So we get to lower the stress hormones and get a little bit more of a rational, present perspective on things and feel an energetic shift. So that's exactly what we're going to do with this round of EFT. And hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So I'm going to tap a point. We're starting on the side of the hand. You should be able to see every point that I'm tapping as I go through. And I'm going to say a phrase. You're going to tap the same point. You're going to say back the same phrase. For those of you on mute, feel free to make it more specific to your particular issue or feelings or whatever, because EFT really does like specificity. The more specific you can be, the more likelihood you have of feeling better about it. So, all right, here we go. Nice deep breath. Just feel yourself present where you are. Even though I feel so tired.
Even though I feel so tired.
Physically, emotionally, mentally.
Physically, emotionally, mentally.
And I'm carrying symptoms that I don't fully understand.
And I'm carrying symptoms I don't fully understand.
I accept how I feel and I honor what my body is trying to tell me.
I accept how I feel and I honor what my body is trying to tell me.
Even though my weight or my hot flashes.
Even though my weight or my hot flashes.
Or just general anxiety or skin stuff.
Or just general anxiety or skin stuff.
Is making it feel like I've lost touch with myself.
Is making it feel like I've lost touch with myself.
I'm open to reconnecting.
I am open to reconnecting.
And even though part of me has felt invisible or unheard.
And even though part of me has felt invisible or unheard.
And I'm so ready to be through with it.
And I'm so ready to be through with it.
I honor the part of me that is still trying.
I honor the part of me that is still trying.
I feel so tired.
I feel so tired.
My body doesn't feel like it's mine.
My body doesn't feel like it's mine.
All of these strange symptoms.
All of these strange symptoms.
Brain fog, weight gain.
Brain fog, weight gain.
My nervous system is holding a lot.
My nervous system is holding a lot.
And I haven't always felt like I was heard when I asked for help.
And I haven't always felt like I was heard with what I felt.
Feels like there's a lot of puzzle pieces that I don't know how to put together.
It feels like there's a lot of puzzle pieces that I don't know how to put together.
And part of me just wants to rest.
Part of me just wants to rest.
And not have to deal with all the complexities of figuring it out.
And have to deal with all the complexities of having to figure it out.
It's not easy being a woman in midlife.
It's not easy being a woman in midlife.
And there aren't any cookie cutter answers.
And there aren't any cookie cutter answers.
And that feels scary and frustrating.
And that feels scary and frustrating.
Maybe even a little sad.
Maybe even a little sad.
But I'm open to the idea that my body is on my side.
But I'm open to the idea that my body is on my side.
That it's not fighting me to make me miserable.
It's not fighting me to make me miserable.
Maybe the things that are unfolding are offering me some sort of protection.
Maybe the things that are unfolding are offering me some sort of protection.
Maybe the heat or the smells or the chills
Maybe the heat or the smells or the chills
are important signals.
are important signals.
Maybe the fatigue is a boundary I didn't know I needed.
Maybe the fatigue is a boundary I didn't know I needed,
Or wasn't brave enough to install before this stage.
or wasn't brave enough to install before this stage.
So I'm just giving myself permission to hear my body with compassion.
I'm just giving myself permission to hear my body with compassion,
Recognizing that I've felt lost in all of this,
recognizing that I felt lost in all of this,
that I have been trying to push my way through for a really long time.
that I've been trying to push my way through for a really long time.
And opening up to the idea that I can trust that clarity is coming.
I'm opening up to the idea that I can trust the clarity that is coming.
What if this is just a turning point?
What if this is just a turning point?
And I'm open to regulating and nourishing myself instead of pushing.
That I'm open to regulating and nourishing myself instead of pushing.
I can start by being kinder to myself.
I can start by being kinder to myself.
I don't have to figure out all of it right now.
I don't have to figure out all of it right now.
I can even put some of this aside.
I can even put some of this aside.
My body is not the enemy.
My body is not the enemy.
And all of these symptoms are messages, not punishments.
And all of these symptoms are messages, not punishments.
Just letting myself feel a little bit more safe in my own body.
Letting myself feel a little more safe in my body.
Being more present in this moment, here and now.
Being more present in this moment, here and now.
Beautiful. Take a nice deep inhale through your nose, everybody. I always say if you feel the desire to yawn, stretch, any of that, that's all good ways to discharge some more energetic blockages. There you go. Jannine's got a good one. All right. Beautiful. And then now, if you can remember your first number, I'd love to see, like, if you went from like an 8 to a 5, or you went to, beautiful. Wendy's got one in there. She's got the 7-4. So that's perfect. If you can put your after results in there, that'd be super helpful. And we just kind of see, like, how intense is the feeling of that now, the weight, whether it's physical or mental or whatever else, of all these changes going on in our lives. All right, so we got 7 to 4, 7 to 3, 9 to 5, 8 to 5. All right, Sarah, you love to stay at the same spot. we'll chat. Jennifer's 8 to a 6, 10 to a 7. All right, cool. Nice shifts and great. I mean, there's no right or wrong as far as where you began and where you ended. So anybody have any interesting little like aha moments, realizations, particular phrases that landed with you in a way that felt profound? You can either unmute and tell us or throw it in the chat. And then we can head back over to Jannine. She listed a great bunch of labs to do in the chat. If anybody, I know we were all tapping, so we might not have seen what she dropped in there, but she's got a good list of those in there.
I agree with Bonnie on that. My body's not the enemy. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. The body not being the enemy is definitely how it feels in this time frame of life. I think that's a really big one. We feel like our bodies are abandoning us, what the F is going on kind of thing, and why me, all the things start to come in, and Bonnie's like hit it. That's what I thought too when you said that. I was like, yes. Okay.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, I think a lot of us end up feeling that way at one point or another. It's validating and it's a transformative thing. And when you're if you're somebody that did kind of land with, it means that there's a crack in the old narrative, right? Of blame and betrayal. And then there's a real opening that happens there for healing to come in. So, yeah, it's like you could even look at like from the perspective that I work with people. Like when did you first start believing that your body was working against you, and see where that takes you? Tracing
Mm.
back to whatever that moment is where maybe it was a time earlier in life when like weight gain wouldn't budge, or a rash flared up, or you had fatigue that was unexplainable, or something else that happened earlier in life, and just bring a little bit of awareness to just how long that maybe you have been relating to your body from a place of mistrust or frustration, and that this is perhaps not at all new or just a midlife thing. And then it's like, what if your body has never once tried to sabotage you? Like, what if every little thing that your body has done was a form of communication? And if you were to reframe it that way, what might you think differently about what's going on? If you were to look at newfound like belly weight as like cortisol armor, or fatigue as some kind of I don't know, like a brake pedal that you weren't willing to press down on before, and just go. Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And somatically, it's something where if you catch yourself feeling like it's you against your body or whatever, you can just kind of like, place a hand on one part of your body. I always go for the heart, belly, sometimes both at the same time, and just kind of like, hey, I'm listening now. Just kind of breathe and just kind of reconnect with your body, and notice that. So yeah, that's a great realization. And I think, what I love about like having Jannine here is that like the work that we do is really complementary, and I'm always excited when I have the opportunity to like work with people that are working with her, or when people that are working with me have a chance to work with her, because like between like the one-on-one work that I do and that she does, it's like it's so incredibly complementary the way that it all lines up. So it was really important to me to get her here today to have a conversation with all of you, because I think it's transformative. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. When you mentioned that about like when in life did this show up, like I noticed that Sheree mentioned like when the weight gain showed up for, I think for a lot of people, the weight is like the betrayal of like, I have done all the things. What the heck is going on here? I would agree with that one for sure, is like one of the like deep places where it really drives people nuts. And I think I also look back, and I would encourage everyone here to like look back and go, what about around puberty? Did things happen there? The body changed, and did you feel the same then? And did you carry it from then? Or is this a whole new level of WTF? Because I've been kind of exploring back to like what happened back then with hormone shifts. And now are we paralleling? Are they new lessons I need to learn? Are they same lessons? And so looking back at what's what's the message here from the body, even, from then till now, I'd love for you to like mention on that too.
yeah, I mean, the feeling of like I've done everything and my body still won't cooperate is definitely common. Um, and the belief there, and like I mentioned before, like if you're going to create a new reality, you need new beliefs, you need new thoughts, you need new feelings, right? So the belief under that is that your body's betraying you, right? And that is rooted in deep frustration, usually, and also rooted in powerlessness, you know, and sometimes even like feeling a bit of a victim, like, well, what else could I possibly do? I've done everything. I eat well, I move my body, I try to manage my stress, nothing's working, so clearly something is either wrong with it or something is wrong with me. Tends to be kind of like the underlying self-talk, the inner critic kind of stuff. And then the emotional undercurrent that we have with that kind of stuff is you've got grief, you've got anger, you've got shame and exhaustion. It's exhausting to think that way. Because your body has been responding, it just didn't respond the way expected. So, yeah, looking at it through that lens of protection, like we talked about it before, can be really helpful, and take some of the load off for that. notice when your body is sending you those messages of like, please stop pushing me, you know, like, please take some rest without feeling like it's going to be the end of the world or you need to feel guilty about it. And more than anything, like, please stop making my size mean something about your worth. And just trust me to heal in some kind of a new way that maybe you're not actively pursuing yet, you know? So, you know, for those of you that wanted to follow through with like another round of EFT, maybe after we're done with the call or something, it would look something like, you know, like your setup would be something like, you know, even though I feel like my body's betrayed me and it hurts that nothing's working the way I want it to, I'm open to the possibility that my body's protecting me in the only way it knows how. Something like that. And then you could go through the different points, you know, mentioning all the different feelings, the negative feelings, especially that you have about that. And that could be a helpful next step too. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Mm.
What do
I'm
you think?
noticing a lot of comments. We've got, Jennifer talking about being diabetic and then now, messing with insulin resistance even more. I also have, I'm seeing, fibromyalgia and showing up with Cherie and Anne's talking about like she's not been the kindest to her body. And I think that's another theme. Like it didn't betray you, but maybe you were the betrayer on the other side of things. And right now it's such a huge time where we're talking about trauma, we're talking about the intersection between autoimmune conditions and chronic illness and how that plays out with hormones, but also our emotional states. Talk a little bit about chronic conditions and things we can tap on, things we can think about when it's not necessarily, maybe it's not necessarily like we feel like the body's betraying, but maybe like the twist of like maybe we've been more of the betrayer on that side of things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There's a lot of things that we can do for chronic conditions and chronic pain with the nervous system. So whether they're related to the autoimmune issues or chronic pain or fatigue or inflammation or weight retention, even those skin and digestive issues that we were talking about before, all those things often carry a deep emotional and nervous system imprint. And that's the kind of stuff that EFT and my other favorite, hypnotherapy, are very good at helping with. So it's because it's not just physical, like those things are actually like woven into identity. So it's not just like I have this symptom, it's like this is happening to me all the time and I don't know how to change it and I'm tired of trying and I'm afraid I'll never get better, fear, and I feel like betrayed or punished. There's emotion there too. So EFT doesn't like fix the body, but it creates internal safety, and internal safety is like the perfect place for things to heal and for, you know, reducing the emotional and the physiological overload that is going to otherwise keep the body stuck in the defense and the inflammation. So that's, I mean, when we tap on those kind of things, that's what we're doing. And as a result of that, oftentimes the symptoms get better. You can also tap directly on like the symptoms, like what you're feeling. If it's a certain, you know, if you're having shoulder pain or if you're having hot flashes or those kind of things, you can talk directly about those kind of symptoms with EFT tapping and get results there too. But emotional roots are overlooked like way too often. Like you look at like autoimmune and inflammation stuff, and it's almost always going to be a story behind it somewhere in your life of being under constant attack or feeling like you can't protect yourself or feeling like your body's turning on you. If you look at weight stuff, you're often going to see stuff where it's not safe to be seen, or there's some kind of like you need insulation in your life, or that like nothing you do is enough. And these are just, they're stories, they're beliefs, they're feelings that were programmed in, because all of like the subconscious and the nervous system programming that just runs us on autopilot right now, if we don't take ourselves into conscious awareness to change it, all happen at a time in our life when we were least capable of questioning it. So all of this programming is just there, and now we're just kind of like, oh, this is just how I am, you know, but it's not. It's all programming. and there like I could go on, but there's tons of other emotional underliers that tend to be there if you're dealing with either digestive conditions or chronic skin conditions or you know, yeah, I mean, like chronic skin conditions, since I know Bonnie Joe mentioned that earlier with the rash and stuff. Like look at where in your life maybe you feel exposed or ashamed or that you're like there's too much going on, like you're carrying, holding too much, or where you just feel like, oh, I just want to crawl out of my skin. Look at those places because those can also relate a lot to the expression of a rash or eczema or something like that. And then, Sarah, you had mentioned about I think it was hives or something, the reaction digestively or whatever with the Cliff Bars. So it's like, where maybe in your life is it like, I just can't like process what's happening, or I have to hold it in, or something always goes wrong, because those emotional underliers can often be there and things like that. So, today I'm just hoping that we can like help you connect some of those dots between like the emotional and the physical. It makes it a lot less mysterious when we can connect more of the dots. Anything to say about that stuff, Jannine?
Absolutely. The most important thing is connecting the dots, and yes, hormone shifts are a provoking factor in life. They happen to us in with puberty, it happens with pregnancy, it happens then, again in the midlife. And anytime hormones are shifting, we are going to feel it on a deeper level. And so this is why this time of life, everything's coming back up. And I kind of feel like it was almost designed for us as our wake up time to really look at things and go, okay, what do we need to change?
Yeah.
What do we need, what can we do to adjust? And getting to the point where you're feeling over it. I mean, this is back to the
What
adrenals
am
and the
I not going to
nerves.
put up with anymore?
Exactly, exactly. Where have I hit my limit of like this needs to end so that I can protect my nervous system on a
Yeah.
deeper level?
Beautiful. Well, I don't see any other new questions in here. I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope this was beneficial, that you got some relief, feel a little bit more seen, understood, maybe got some good answers. Jannine, is there a good place for people to get in touch with you if they want to work with you or understand more of what you do and get in on that?
Sure. You could head over to Dr. spelled out JKRAUSEND.com. I'll put it in the chat here while I'm chatting. You can also find me at my podcast where you can see
I
episodes
think
with
I got
Teresa and
you.
I
Did
as
I get it
well.
right? No, I didn't get it right. Don't go to the one I just put in there. I got it wrong.
Ah,
Um, okay, I'm deleting my comment. You put your website in there so people don't get the crappy
there's
one
my
I just tried to.
website.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I
All
think
good.
I think the majority of you guys are in my
Thanks.
community already, but if anybody does want to, go deeper discussing things, that's my link right there for like just booking a 15-minute call if you want to chat more about underliers there. It's not a sales call or anything like that. It's just an opportunity to chat a little bit more about this, or to see if you are interested in doing deeper work. We can always talk about that too, and happy to help pull some more threads through on some of the things that feel like they're still kind of loose and hanging for anybody that needs a little bit more. So thank you guys all for being here, and thank you, Jannine, for just sharing so much of your expertise and your wisdom and helping to answer so many of these questions.
No problem. Thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. You guys have a lovely Valentine's Day tomorrow. And if you don't celebrate, I'm going to say Galentine's
Yes, well,
because
and most importantly, love yourself through it.
Galentine's Day. That's how I like to look at it. I'm not into the Hallmark holidays per se, but I'm always like Galentine's. When someone started that, I was like, awesome. So yeah, love on yourselves tomorrow.
Yes.
You
All
did
right.
today, you can do it tomorrow too.
Yes. Be well, everybody. Bye bye.